Welcome to the What If podcast with your hosts, Spencer Worth Davis and Ryan Copperrood.
We have been hoodwinked.
Ryan's trying to hoodwink all of us.
I'm not hoodwinking shit.
Ryan is trying to prevent us from having a good time.
I am
and sharing
not.
it with all of you on this lovely community that we have built over the past year and a half.
This is, you sit on a throne of lies, and I will not stand for your
The
sitting.
listeners are being hoodwinked by Ryan's stubbornness right now.
False. Explain to the people. We need Judge John Hodgman in the building. We need an arbiter.
So,
And it can't be Dan, because I know who Dan's going to side with. Dan.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So May 4th through May 6th.
Oh, yeah. We talked about this in the Facebook group, didn't we?
Yes. When somebody asked who wants to go, and Dan and I said, we do.
Yeah, I didn't
Mile
know.
High Mysteries Conference is happening in Colorado, May 4th
Is
through
that
the 6th.
really what it's called?
Yes. The picture is the Grand Canyon, which is not in Colorado, but that's okay.
Nor is it a mile high. What the fuck?
And a cow, it's actually low, a cow being abducted by a UFO. David Paulides is going to be there speaking. Linda Moulton Howe is going to be there speaking. A bunch of other people I've never heard of are going to be there speaking.
So it's not David Paulides' personal conference.
I think he is one of the organizers.
Oh, okay.
It's happening May 4th through May 6th in Colorado, just south of Denver. I'm going. I bought my $115 flight round trip to Denver and back.
From Minneapolis.
Yes. And our What If correspondent, Dan, is going, who you may remember.
Are we referring to Dan as a correspondent
now? For the
now?
sake of this argument, I am.
Because I'm not entirely sure where that came from. I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to calling Dan a correspondent, but
that came from me right now trying to convince you to go do this with us because it's going to be fun.
Okay.
And it's not going to cost us very much money, if any money, because we have this Patreon thing.
Yeah.
Where we get like a couple $100 a month.
Thanks, everybody.
And if the point of that isn't for us to go to a Bigfoot conference with David Paulides, I don't know what the point of it is.
Honestly, the biggest thing for me is it's in the middle of the week. Why would they do it in the middle of the week?
No, it's not. It's Friday through Sunday. Learn how calendars work.
I thought the 7th was a Tuesday.
No, it's Friday through Sunday.
Oh, wait, it starts on the 4th or it starts on the 6th?
Maybe I have the dates wrong. It's a Friday through a Sunday.
Are you positive?
Yes.
Then maybe I was looking at the wrong month.
Well, that would be a problem. It's let me get the dates. May 4th through the 6th. I'm sorry. It's Bigfoot and the silhouette of a man being abducted by the same UFO at the same damn time.
At the same damn time.
And those might be mountains. It's hard to say. May 4th through the 6th, which is
so it's not the Grand Canyon.
Well, it made that story funnier. It's Friday through Sunday, May 4th through the 6th. What's your excuse now, Ryan? Why'd you ignore our text thread all weekend, Ryan?
I mean, I was a little busy this weekend.
Playing bingo, Ryan?
And
too busy playing bingo to answer your friend's texts?
First of all, bingo was very tight. Second of all, Spencer is social media stalking me because I didn't even tell him I played bingo this weekend.
Yeah, I was looking at my phone being like, man, I wish Ryan would text me back. And then
I was busy,
Instagram,
dog.
Yeah.
I could have won a growler. I didn't, but I could have.
Cool. You know what place has a lot of really good beer?
Denver, Colorado.
Yeah.
Why is it an hour south of Denver? They're going to make you rent a car and drive to this Bigfoot conference?
That's your issue? You have to drive an hour? That's your objection.
Why can't we land in Denver and just take a taxi? Why don't they do it in the weird-ass Denver airport where everything's fucking creepy and scary?
Here's the other part of this argument. We could get 4 episodes out of this. You could take...
In a weekend?
Yeah. We get an interview with Dave. We get an interview with Linda Moulton.
With Dave.
There's no way there's going to be more than 50 people at this conference. We can talk to Dave and turn a microphone on. We get an interview with Linda Moulton Howe. We do an episode about the crazy-ass Denver airport. You could take the next 3 weeks off from the podcast because we're going to have so much gold content.
You see how Spencer is dangling.
Weed is legal, and you're going to a Mile High Mysteries conference. I don't know and it's going to cost you no money.
Why this is a problem? And
the weirdos who listen to our show are going to pay for you to do this.
Let's go, my beautiful weirdo babies.
Yeah, you have an obligation to them to go do this stupid adventure with us.
This stupid adventure. It's not stupid.
See, you're coming around.
It's not.
It's
stupid.
a great idea. That 2 of your friends are already committed to.
know.
My flight is purchased.
Yeah, this was the worst part. Yo, back in the day, in like, I don't know what it was, 2007, I used to live in uptown Minneapolis, and there was this bar around the corner called Liquor Lyle's. And me and my buddy, it's still there. And me and my buddy Riley, who lived around the corner from Liquor Lyle's, we would be like at the crib, and people would be like, yo, are you home right now? And we would think like, oh, maybe they're trying to drop something off or come by, whatever. And we'd be like, yeah, why? What's up? And they'd be like, cool, because we're at Liquor Lyle's right now, so you have to come.
If this is a story about how you hate people peer pressuring you, I'm just ending the podcast, because you do that more than anyone I know by at least tenfold.
I'm actually pretty good at it. I will say it's like one of my best skills is forcing people into doing
I will hear nothing
things
about how you don't appreciate being peer pressured.
Hey, I'm not saying, I'm just saying it feels similar when I was like, wait, is this a thing that you're doing? And he's like, no, this is a thing that's already been done. Like Dan and I bought our tickets. We're
maybe
going.
if you didn't take 3 days to respond to your text messages, that wouldn't happen to you.
Hey, listen, I'm 18. I do what I want.
Maybe if there wasn't an 18-hour gap in between me sending you the first text and you responding,
hey, bro,
we wouldn't have bought flights without you.
I don't dance monkey. I'm not a human on demand. All right,
all right, man.
I got stuff sometimes.
I'm gonna be interviewing a bunch of weirdos without you, I guess.
I'm not saying I'm not gonna do it. I just got.
Sounds like you are. Sounds like that's exactly what you're saying.
Dan quite literally texted me as you turned it on. LMAO, but how do you turn down a free trip and 2 weeks off recording your podcast?
Yeah. Dan makes great points.
I mean, I guess it's not like I like need a vacation from the pod. I like doing this. I like hanging out with you guys.
Think how much better the episodes will be when we can smoke as much weed as we want and talk to David Politis about Bigfoot. That's what?
We'll have to do intros and outros to the shows and be like, all right, guys, it's got real weird. Heads up.
Yeah.
Advanced warning.
You know what I'm gonna do?
Weird.
I said I was gonna be nice to you this episode, but so far I'm doing the opposite, because that lady told me I needed to be nicer to Ryan in an email this week.
You do. See,
I'm gonna get all of our listeners.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks for looking out for me.
I'm gonna get all of our listeners to peer pressure you into going to the Mile High Mysteries Conference this week.
Shout out my Twitter handle right now.
At Ryan Copperrood.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
If you guys have reasons why Ryan should go on a trip with his friends to the Mile High Mysteries Conference and create a bunch of great podcast content for you, you should tweet them at Ryan Copperrood. Or maybe drop them in the Facebook group and tag Ryan Copperrood.
Oh, wow. This is going to be...
if you want to text him, his phone number is 612... I don't actually know your phone number. His phone number is Ryan K in my phone from like 10 years ago.
I would tackle you right out your chair.
So we're going to be out there. Well, I and What If correspondent DJ Name are going to be out there. We're going to DJ one night. Yep. We could have a What If meetup.
Wait, are we really going to DJ one night?
Dan and I are going to. You're not coming with, remember?
Can I DJ if we DJ?
Yeah, sure.
Like, can I have 45 minutes?
You can play 45 minutes of DMX if you want.
What if I want to do DMX?
If you want to just put on It's Dark and Hell is Hot and walk away and that's your set?
Oh, I'm not walking away. If I put on It's Dark and Hell is Hot, I'm banging out to X Go and give it to you like with the best of them.
Yeah, you can do that, bro.
All right, man. I'll return next week with my verdict. I got to check a couple things. What time you guys flying on Friday?
I don't know. 10 or 11 or something. It's Friday morning.
All right. Well, probably going to do it. Fuck.
Awesome.
I hope.
At Ryan Copperrood. That's KOPPERUD.
I hope when I said, all right, I guess I'm probably going to do it, there was like a resounding podcast cheer that occurred.
Also, this is all
got him! Woo!
This is all documented now, so you can't. This is legally binding. You have to purchase that Sun Country flight. Sorry, bro.
I wonder if we're going to actually have some listeners going. I guess you guys...
Yes, we are. They hit us up about it already and said, who's going? I want to go. Let's hang out. That's how this whole thing started.
All right. Hi at whatifpodcast.com. If you're going to go, you should tell us, because we probably should actually set up a meetup if we do this.
Yeah. That's what I just said.
I know, but I'm thinking about it differently now. God damn it. Son of a...
Yeah. We could have so much great content.
Hashtag content.
Yeah.
Hashtag content.
Yeah. If you guys want us,
every time we tweet a show from now on, can we just say hashtag content?
We could have so many great Is It Trash episodes.
What's that?
We could get some good Patreon content, some Is It Trash episodes.
Oh, sure.
I could watch...
I think we should bring video cameras and we should do a lot of filming of like ourselves reacting to things too.
I have one of those. Let's do it.
I do too. We could have two angles of us talking about things that are trash.
We'll make like
not trash.
We'll make like a fake found footage Bigfoot documentary while we're out there. Think of the possibilities.
Hey, I'm 6'5" and I weigh 215 pounds, man. I could wear a
Don't shave till May.
I was thinking I was going to wear a costume, but that could work too.
You got to get some big swinging tits or whatever that guy said though.
Gross. No thanks.
Also,
how about big swinging arms?
Apologies to the Bigfoot emailer who I was roasting last week. It was all good-natured ribbing.
Yeah, it's all love.
Yeah.
It's only love.
That's what we do here. We
like it when y'all send us emails. Hi at whatifpodcast.com. Y'all send us some fun shit to entertain every week. So thanks for doing that.
All right.
Speaking of every week, we haven't talked about what the fuck is happening this week.
Oh, right. Yeah. Polybius.
We've
mystery video games, bro.
We've only been berating Ryan for 45 fucking minutes.
I thought maybe you wanted a can Spencer dunk yet update.
Well,
because the update is no. It cannot.
Spoiler alert: Spencer's vertical did not increase 14 inches in 7 days.
Yep.
Are you trying?
Yeah. I've played ball every day since Friday.
I don't want to know if you've played ball. I want to know if you physically tried to run at a hoop and dunk a basketball.
Well, I don't think that's how it works.
I'm pretty sure that is exactly
one time you're a foot short
works.
and the next time you can just do it. That's how the progress happens.
No, I think it's one time you can't do it, and for the next 998 times you still can't do it.
Your only training is just running and jumping?
Yeah.
That's all.
Run at the hoop and try to dunk and look like a complete and utter asshole over and over and over again.
I've not done that yet.
Dude, your one left calf is going to be like the size of
I'm a
like
2-footed jumper
footballs.
all the way.
Are you?
Yeah.
So your first dunk is going to be off of 2 feet.
Yep.
You heard it here first, folks.
I did make 400 3-pointers in an hour and 51 minutes yesterday, though.
400 3-pointers? You guys, Spencer just rearranged his seating position in the studio and kicked the shit out of this table that he made.
I just smashed my knee right into the edge of this table.
This table has sharp wooden corners and metal legs. So
now one of them has impaled me.
A peek behind the curtain here on the What If podcast as Spencer
I'm not good at making stuff.
names his own leg.
We Matt and another dude, Nate, and I yesterday did the 400 3-pointers challenge from Reddit, which is if you're locked in a gym and you have to make 400 3-pointers before you can leave.
How long would it take you?
Would you die?
There's no way you made by yourself 400 3-pointers.
I did in an hour and 51 minutes. You got to rebound for yourself too.
I don't believe that even happened.
All three of us did it in under 2 hours.
400 3-pointers?
Mm-hmm. Took me about half an hour per 100, a little less. The second 100 was real quick. The last 100 was real slow.
I bet, because I bet you were fucking insanely tired.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, it's never intense. You're just shooting a basketball, but I probably took like 900 or 1,000 shots or something.
900 shots would mean you made 50% of your 3-pointers, basically.
Yeah.
That sounds like really generous.
No.
No?
Wide open 3.
Every other wide open 3 you made?
Yeah.
Damn. That's fucking crazy, man. I don't think I could do that. I mean, granted, that was never my style of play. I was never a 3-point shooter. But
I make at least half of of unguarded, like taking your time threes. Yeah.
I think what I'm trying to say here is, yes, I would have died. Absolutely.
That's another thing that's not going to help me dunk a basketball. But
I would be literally laying on the floor of a gym at 4 a.m, just only able to raise my hands over my head, hucking a ball at a backboard.
The original challenge is also that you can't eat or drink during it.
What? What is the purpose of this?
I drank water because I thought that part was stupid.
I mean, but I don't know. I don't fully understand the purpose.
It was a stupid like Reddit shit post in the NBA offseason, and then a bunch of people decided to actually do it
and film themselves doing it. Did you guys film yourselves doing it and do a time lapse?
No,
you should have.
Yeah, I just talked about on our podcast about video games and paranormal things instead. I'm not sure why I'm doing that. You want to talk about paranormal video games instead?
What if a video game came for your soul?
Disappeared?
What if a video game disappeared?
What if
a video game?
What if myths happened?
What if
urban legends?
What if urban legends are real? This is actually what. Do you think this qualifies as our first strictly like urban legend post? I guess it's not necessarily an urban legend. Well,
I don't really know what the definition of that is.
Yeah.
But Polybius, quick background, was...
Are we saying Polybius or Polybius? Because in my head, when I read it, I was saying Polybius.
I've heard both.
Okay.
So
I'll probably say whatever falls out of my fucking face.
There's no authority to govern said pronunciations. I say do what you want. You're grown now.
I'm grown now. Fuck me. I'm grown now.
1981. This is all allegedly, of course.
Are we going to do the allegedly and then like
open tag allegedly,
the true history,
and then at the end we'll do a close tag allegedly,
and then we'll investigate the actual what happened. Okay, we'll do the alleged story first.
1981 in Portland, a arcade video game shows up in one or a handful of arcades.
Depends on who you ask.
And the game is called Polybius, Polybius, and it's alleged to have negative effects on those who play it, including nightmares, depression. It was
amnesia.
Yeah, and I think some of those have gotten exaggerated even from the allegedly realm. I've heard people claim that it caused suicides, as well as a strong dislike for video games. It caused some people to stop playing video games altogether.
So I'm pretty sure that happens with every rage quit that's ever happened in the world of video games. Fuck this game.
It was then allegedly investigated and or removed from arcades by FBI agents, possibly because of the detrimental health effects it was having on people. No Polybius cabinet has ever appeared in the wild. Lots of people, nor has any game footage ever appeared or any physical evidence of this game actually being real.
We've got
just a whole bunch of stories.
Yeah, a whole bunch of stories.
And a whole bunch of hoaxes. People have built cabinets and made versions of what people describe the game being and emulations that they've then loaded on to other cabinets. And so if you look around online, you can find Polybius cabinets or videos of people, quote unquote, playing the game, or even downloads of versions of the game.
The .exe, the ROM dump.
Yeah. So you can find one like screen grab of the title online. It says Polybius, copyright 1981, Sinislotion Inc. Which, if we break down that name, it's based on two German words. What's the word called when you stick two words together to make a new word?
A portmanteau? Is that right?
Yeah, something like that.
But is that? Hang on. I'm an English major. I should not be fucking this up.
I don't know anything about anything. Anyway, it's the combination of sinus, which means sense, like your senses, and lotion, which means to lose or erase. So the company name could be interpreted to mean sense eraser or senseless or mind eraser or all kinds of spooky, scary things.
Sensory deprivation.
Ooh. No senses in the float take.
I'm wrong because a portmanteau is like brunch, like breakfast and lunch. So I don't know what the...
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Well, no, because...
Oh, you're saying when you take the full words, it's a different thing?
sinus and lotion are like two separate words that are kind of like smashed together to make a word.
Portmanteau was what I was thinking of, even if it was wrong.
Okay, cool.
And then Polybius, poly obviously means many, and bios meaning life, could mean many lives or something to that extent. Polybius was also a real person.
A Greek historian.
Yeah.
Of prominence.
Sure. I'll take whoever's word that is for it.
Some prominence, anyway.
Yeah, a dude who lived in Megalopolis, Arcadia. Also, the Polybius Square, which is a type of cipher, is named for him. It's a substitution cipher.
Yeah, he invented a way to basically take... It's actually pretty cool. I had never heard of it before, but You list the numbers 1 through 5 vertically and horizontally, and then you take the 25 of the 26 letters of the alphabet. I and J are the same letter, and you list them left to right over and over again, and then 2 numbers can coordinate to any letter in the alphabet that way with the duplicity of I and J. So 25 letters. So like, for instance, 1 is A, obviously, because it's the 1 and the 1 coming together to match where that letter is.
Smart.
Yeah, so...
I would have just left Z out, though.
Well, right.
Like I and J would get confusing sometimes.
Although, I mean, yeah, maybe.
Is that right in the middle of the alphabet? Is that why, maybe?
Close.
Whatever. It don't matter.
Yeah.
There's also no record of Cineslotion ever being an actual company.
Yes.
Or existing in any way or creating any other video games.
Yes.
There's a very small amount of visual evidence of this game existing. If you do a Google search for Polybius, one of the first things you'll see is what is allegedly a screen grab of the opening credits.
Yeah, it looks like the intro to an arcade game. It says like, you know, you've got like your credits, like how many credits you have, whether or not you can play.
That's it? And
Yeah.
it's not clear where that comes from. Because it doesn't look like a photo. And as far as we know, no one has ever archived the ROM or whatever the game would have originally been stored on. There's no emulation of this game anywhere.
Yep.
So most likely that's a mock-up that was made well after 1981.
Well, I mean, we don't know.
Sure. Just where would that have come from if that were somehow the only remaining visual evidence of this game? How would you get a screen grab from an arcade game from the 80s but nothing else?
Sure. I mean, I guess I could see an argument for it being like a crop of a picture.
Like an actual photograph?
Yeah.
There's no way that's an actual photograph.
You don't think so?
No. That would have had to be taken on film, and it's perfectly straight. Like, there's no way that's an actual photo.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. It does look like a digital recreation.
Yeah.
But we know the first, well, as far as we've been able to track, we know the first time it appeared on the internet.
Yes. Just one more thing about that logo.
Oh, right.
It does have some similarities to other games or game designing companies of that era.
Tempest?
Well, the gameplay is alleged to be very similar to Tempest.
Yeah.
The logo is almost identical to Williams games from around that same time in terms of the font that's used for on the screen cap. And there was a Williams game called Bubbles, which used the exact same font. And that game came out in early 80s somewhere. It's also on the cabinets or the actual like title of the game, Polybius, appears to be very close to the font used on a German game from the 80s called Polyplay.
Polyplay.
Which either...
Poly wanna brainwash?
Whoa. It's aggressive.
Just saying.
I saw an article about your guy, Alex the Parrot, today.
Hey, how's he doing?
No, he's dead. I thought you knew. Sorry, bro.
We'll be right back.
We out of here!
Oh, those were his last words.
That'd be so dope. That's how he just chucked a deuce and was like, "We out of here."
No, his last words were like, "See you tomorrow" or something. He knew he was out of here.
Were they really?
It was something like that, yeah.
Oh, that's actually kind of sweet.
He was a very self-aware little bird guy.
Fucking A. That's wild.
But so either it was maybe tied to some other games being developed in Germany in the 80s, maybe from the same developer. Or on the flip side, maybe somebody went back and looked at 80s German games and ripped off some of the fonts and design.
Right.
One or the other.
Yeah. We'll talk later about more of the elements of this story that may be reminiscent of other elements of the time too.
Do you want to get into evidence and appearance of this myth, or do you want to talk about the weird mind control aspect of it?
Well, let's talk about the weird mind control aspect of it first, and then talk about how this thing made its way into the world and into like canon, I guess.
Go for it.
Well, you talk about the mind control stuff because I have more stuff about the history of the game itself.
Okay. So part of the legend is that it was a government or possibly a government experiment.
Yeah,
it was targeted at youth. Video games would have been a good way to get to youth in the 80s.
True. Although maybe even more so than now, a lot of adults also hung out at arcades and stuff as well, because some of the arcades were more, in the 80s, they were a little less like kid-friendly and a little more like bar-friendly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was reading some interesting stuff about people talking about FBI agents at arcades and being like, whoa, that's so crazy. Why would that happen? And they were like, yeah, but also like a lot of people had arcades that they like sold drugs out of, and they were like bars. And
yeah, and I heard I couldn't track down like any actual documentation of this.
Yeah.
But I have heard of people trying to, or people successfully adapting games to incorporate some sort of gambling element.
Oh,
which
interesting.
Is very illegal.
Right.
And so there may have been law enforcement hanging out around some of these and or confiscating machines from some arcades if they had been changed to include some sort of gambling.
Sure. Some code ninjas went in there and said, put in 4 more quarters and we'll give you back 8 if you get above X score.
You get the high score and you get, whatever.
Sure. I think too, I mean, there's something to be said for any business that is in mostly or entirely cash business is totally subject to the money laundering world.
Lots of opportunity.
All you're talking about is counting quarters all day long. Plus, if you're a bar or you're selling like fucking popcorn and beers and sodas and shit, like,
I mean, everything was cash based in the 80s, but
well, that's true.
Yes. So some people, based on stories and rumors about what the gameplay was like, which was the basics are from all these stories and rumors and myths. We have no actual evidence of any of this stuff. It was a game similar to Tempest, which you flew a little spaceship-looking thing.
Like more of a triangle than anything, but yeah.
Yeah, around a central point, and you shot at various objects, and there were numbers and some basic math that you had to accomplish to move on to the next level. So like there would be a number on the inner circle, and then there would be other numbers like kind of orbiting it, and you'd have to shoot numbers that if they were a factor of the bigger number, that number would decrease, so on and so forth, to get to the next level. So there were like kind of strategy
Far
and
too much fucking math for my video games.
Right, which I think bolstered the legend of like it was a recruiting device for the military, or
if you're smart enough.
Yeah.
It's like that whatchamacallit cipher, what was the one that we did the episode on, the CIA code where like if you could figure it out and get past it, you were
Are you talking about Cicada or
Cicada? Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Cicada 301? No.
3301, I think.
3301, yeah.
That was never actually linked to the CIA though. That's just
no, but some of the similar rumors were like if you were successful enough in what was presented to you, like, and in fact, I thought about it when we were researching it, like, or when I was researching this. It's I mean, very much from a similar canon of a code being placed into the universe in a semi, tame or neutral way, and then those who are successful at it are hypothetically, allegedly being recruited into government operations.
It also sounds a lot like the plot of The Last Starfighter.
Yeah, but The Last Starfighter came out
84.
after Polybius was alleged to come out.
Did it?
Well.
Did it?
Well.
Or did Polybius maybe show up on the internet 20 years later?
Maybe. Yes.
There were also rumored to be lots of like flashing elements, and it was very psychedelic and trippy, apparently, which may have tied into some of the MKUltra speculation that it was maybe linked to that, which I think was already public by the 80s, right? Wasn't that late 70s that the Senate hearings about all that stuff were happening?
Yeah, it would have had.
So that would have been out in the public already?
Not even late 70s for some of it, wasn't it?
I think it was 77.
I just started watching Wormwood. Have you watched that yet?
I watched some of it. I couldn't really get into it.
The first episode was kind of boring, but then by the second one, I was like, I'll probably finish it.
The like half documentary, half recreation stuff just wasn't really working for me.
Yeah, with like a bunch of really famous people in it, which was weird. MKUltra officially halted in 73, they say, and 84 was the U.S. General Accounting Office report.
I thought there was some public documentation earlier than that.
No, in 73, amid government-wide panic for Watergate.
That's what it was.
CIA Director Helms ordered all of the MKUltra files destroyed, and then a cache of 20,000 documents survived that purge and were revealed in a FOIA request in 77.
Nailed it. Okay, so this stuff would have been out in the public by the time that Polybius was alleged to exist.
Yes.
If you look at, there's a most common, like, quote unquote emulation of this game, which somebody else just developed, but it has like lots of really trippy flashing lights in it. They actually put a bunch of subliminal messages into it.
Yeah.
Like all the shit from They Live, like the obey, submit.
Right.
What's I don't remember what the other one is.
Consume. I think is the other one.
All that stuff is like in the background. Subliminally.
Yeah.
Which could have also been tied to a lot of the ill health effects that allegedly happened in terms of like, it wasn't documented yet that flashing lights can cause seizures in people.
Right.
That wasn't until 97.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's that one Pokemon episode, right?
What do you mean?
That was the first time that was like a well-documented thing, was that episode of Pokemon when a bunch of Japanese kids had to go to the emergency room.
What in the fuck are you talking about? Is this a real thing?
Okay, so
a bunch of Japanese kids had seizures because of a Pokemon episode?
Yeah. That's like why we all know about flashing lights causing epileptic seizures.
That's not why I know about it. Goddamn.
How do you know about it?
I mean, I just knew it was the thing that like scientifically we understood that.
Yeah, we know about thanks to a bunch of Japanese kids watching Pokemon.
Damn.
That's why like prior to 97, there were no flashing lights warnings on anything.
Thanks, Pokemon.
It was this episode, what was the name of the episode?
I hope those kids are all right.
Denno Senshi Porygon. And there's this one scene with Pikachu. He uses some thunderbolt thing, and like the whole screen is just flashing for like 8 seconds. And it was like a bunch of kids. 685 kids were hospitalized.
685. That's so many kids.
Some for up to 2 weeks.
Damn.
Because they probably also had to try and figure out what in the fuck was going on, because this wasn't a documented thing yet.
Right.
So anyway, in the 80s, that wouldn't have been known.
Bro, what kind of...
Or at least not widely.
What kind of press release just starts with, sorry.
Oops. We didn't know.
Hey, so what had happened was...
Dude, we
thought Pikachu would be cool like this.
Our buddy Matt, who's just getting all the shout-outs on the podcast lately, we were out on Saturday night. We were watching basketball at a bar.
Yeah.
And at 8:15, apparently they dimmed the lights in this bar because it's Saturday night party zone, starting at 8:15. And they have a dimmer on all these lights, but bulbs that aren't dimmable. So they tried to dim them, and it just does this like
low flicker.
They just flicker because
what bar is this? Can you say it?
I don't want to.
Can you?
It's a shithole bar.
Can you tell
on
me?
Como in St. Paul.
Okay, I'm close. I've got like 3 in my head.
Anyway, that's probably too much already.
Yeah.
But we're sitting there, and in our whole section, all the lights are just like flickering.
Low flicker.
And
was he like, I gotta get the fuck out of here?
Matt has epilepsy.
Whoa!
And so we're trying to get
all right, man, peace.
We're trying to get our server's attention. Like, hey, can you not with the lights?
Can you fucking figure it out?
And she comes over and she says, oh, I'll see what I can do. And she's over at like behind the bar trying to figure out how to dim bulbs that can't be dimmed.
She just starts turning them on and off super fast. He's like, fuck!
And Matt is sitting at the table and just yells over to her like, can you just turn them off? And so we spent the rest of the time we were there just sitting in the dark watching basketball.
Fan-fucking-tastic.
We had no lights on in our section.
Fantastic.
So that our guy would not seize.
Yeah. Yeah, we need you, bud.
So anyway, didn't know about that till 97.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, word.
A roundabout way of saying MKUltra may have been fucking with people in the 80s by flashing bright lights into their eyes for hours at a time.
And there sounds awful.
I did find at least one story about somebody actually getting sick playing video games in Portland in the 80s.
Yes, and I found one where a kid died.
Dun, dun, dun. That's a pretty dramatic tease, my guy.
Okay, should we take a quick break? Actually,
sure. I think we told the basics of the story.
We'll come back and we'll tell how Polybius made its way into the internet canon and how it has continued to spread its, shall we say, tentacles into the world.
We're also going to talk about the secret characters you can unlock in NBA Jam.
Yes, we are.
And Laserdisc video games.
Yes, and I've also got a story about when a kid died. All right, we'll be right back. Hey. I used to like video games, now I still do. Scary though. What if that video game killed you? I'm not joking about that, but shit is scary. Yikes, you should have put in more coin. The kid needed more lives. Am I right? That's a bad joke. I'm just trying to see what you really know about Polybius. That's a Greek god or a guy or a weird thing that made people die.
We go until I laugh too hard to keep playing the beat.
There we go. That's the goal. If I make Spencer laugh hard enough. Hey, speaking of bars really quick. So we've talked a lot before about the fact that when Spencer makes beats and I rap, we actually do make beats and rap in our other lives. And
True.
I rapped over you guys have heard POS on the show before and Sims and a bunch of the cats from a group here in Minneapolis called Doomtree, and they're doing kind of a fun rap contest for their record called Shredders. So if
rap
you go to,
contest!
Rap contest. If you go to doomtree.net/shredders, I made one, and Spencer helped me record it, and you can go vote for me, and it's free to vote, and it takes like 10 seconds. Just go to doomtree.net/shredders, and then you click on the gigantic phrase that says, "Click here to vote."
Hell yeah.
Hell yes. And Ryan Copperwood is a name on there under a song.
That's the worst name I ever heard.
That's fair.
So that's going to be nice. I'm sorry. I was going to be nicer this episode.
And then he lied about it. But yeah, I would super appreciate it if you just went there and took like 10 seconds to vote for me, because I could get like a cool song out of it with those dudes, and it was fun to make. So yeah, there's a SoundCloud link in there, and you can spin my version on there. And yeah, no pressure. But if you want to, that would be dope. Thanks for y'all's support for pods and musics and all kinds of stuff. We posted it in the What If Podcast Facebook group, and people were like, "Hell yeah, no problem, I got your back." We got some Patrick from SpongeBob memes. It was great.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. So shout out to you guys. Thanks for your help. Doomtree.net/shredders.
Who died playing video games?
A kid.
That's the worst.
I know. I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to make light of that when we left. But let's be honest, we don't know that kid, and we don't know anybody who knows that kid. So.
It's aggressive.
No. But so there was. It was, let's see, 1982 in Illinois.
Oh shit, that's the right time period.
And
true thing that totally happened with video games and death. Games of death.
Well, no, this one is confirmed. This was like in a local paper. This 18-year-old with
shit, that's even worse.
this 18-year-old did have a pre-existing heart condition, but he was playing a game called Berserk and got the high score on the game. And apparently, literally, like within minutes of getting the high score, he actually had a heart attack triggered, and the 18-year-old kid died.
Died doing what he loved.
Yeah,
Went
for
out
sure.
on top.
They should have frozen those initials.
For the rest of
man.
his life, he had the high score on that game.
Those 3 initials should have stayed there forever.
Real quick.
Yep.
We should do an episode about the Berserkers.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Steph rapped about the Berserkers on a song you and I made together.
He was the one who taught me about how weird those guys were.
Oh, really? That actually would be a super fun episode. I'm sure there are other bands of crazies like the Berserkers, right?
Did they also take
about?
acid before running into battle and then drink their own piss to keep tripping?
Whoa! I don't think I do all that.
That's about all that I do know, but that's enough for me to want to talk about.
That is enough. Holy, but Jesus.
Yeah.
But I think, and we'll get back around to this, but I think one of the interesting elements of the Polybius sort of myth, legend, whatever you want to call it, story, is like there are all of these very fascinating elements to the story that seem to be connected to things that did actually happen.
I think that's why the story has stuck around for so long.
Because it's been sort of...
There's just enough to make it believable.
Because it connects to all kinds of different stories in the day.
But not enough to actually prove anything.
True.
If there were nothing to it, it would have gone away. And if you could prove it, it wouldn't be...
Sweet Ooh. Jesus.
Oh.
You should have said LaCroix while you burped just to like...
Oh, weird.
Really shout out. Do you need a second?
I haven't done that on the show for a long time. I apologize.
But
I got a real angry email from somebody about that one time.
It was an emergency.
Also, I said I'm going to respond to everybody's emails.
We've been getting a few too many.
Yeah, no, it's not even that. If you're rude to me, I'm just going to delete them. That's all it is. I'm not going to respond to asshole emails anymore. If you seem like a decent person, and if you don't open your email by telling one of us that we're a piece of shit, we'll respond to you.
Look, let's be real. Spencer's making it seem like we get a lot of those. The vast majority of you are not sending those at all.
I'm just addressing like 5 people through the podcast right now.
There we go.
Yeah.
5 of you.
What was I talking about before I almost died there?
Before you...
burped myself to death?
Death by belching.
I lost it.
That's our next t-shirt band name. Death by belching.
There's just enough to make it believable or plausible, but you can't prove any of it.
Yes.
Therefore, Perpetual Mystery Machine.
Yeah, for sure. And
that's the name of our third album.
Perpetual Mystery Machine?
Yeah.
Ooh, yes. That's really good. I also think, and I know this is kind of what you were saying, but like, because the story draws from so many true stories that were happening in the day, I think that is, to your point, like that is what makes it so believable. Because it's like, oh yeah, that was happening. Oh yeah, that was too. And like the level of sort of minute familiarity that the story has throughout is enough for people in the time to sort of go like,
Just with the stuff we've covered, you've got MKUltra in the news. Our government is doing illegal experiments involving psychedelics on citizens. That's a real thing that's happening in the time period.
100%.
Video games are skyrocketing in popularity and commonplace.
100%.
A kid apparently did die playing video games.
Other kids, including in 1981, were having seizures while playing video games.
Really?
Yeah, a game called Astro Fighter triggered a seizure in a kid in 1981, but they didn't entirely like know if it was just the kid or just the game, or like they didn't put together the Pokemon phenomenon yet because it wasn't mass enough. But some people are more, they call it photosensitive epilepsy, and some people are more prone to it than others.
I think it's a pretty small percentage even of people that have epilepsy that are photosensitive.
Right. So, it stands to reason that they go, this kid who had epilepsy had a seizure at an arcade, but they might have not necessarily put the 2 and 2 together until later on that it could have causal effects.
And then you possibly or likely do have law enforcement removing games from arcades.
Because you're gambling or you're money laundering or you're...
Or at least hanging out at arcades occasionally, yeah.
Right.
So I get it. And then, like, information is all going to pass by word of mouth about that kind of stuff. You know,
right.
Pre-internet, it's especially like if all that stuff was happening within a community, I could totally see that snowballing into this huge mythical game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then you take stuff like The Last Starfighter, and there was, I don't think we mentioned this earlier, but there is actual documentation of the military using video games as training.
Yeah, there's a specific game called like Battleground or
I think that was it.
Is it Battleground?
Battletoads.
Battletoads. Oh, I had Battletoads for my Game Boy. I loved that game.
I think there was a militarized version of Toe Jam and Earl.
Can you hang from this cave ceiling and be a worm that shoots things?
There was a militarized version of Echo the Dolphin for Sega Genesis where they just strapped a blowgun to its head.
No, it was just a little. Wasn't it just a little needle to pop?
It went around
Russian
detecting mines.
Yeah,
I actually beat that game once for some reason.
Echo?
Yeah.
Whoa, isn't that game like notoriously bad?
Yeah, it was terrible. I think it was the free game that you got with Sega for a while.
Oh,
like
cool.
when you buy it, you get one game.
Yeah.
It was Dolphin Simulator.
And they hadn't figured out how to give you like Wave Race 64 yet, which was the fucking coolest game.
Well, that's because that was Nintendo 64, not Sega.
No,
but that game ruled. That and Star Fox.
Star Fox. And, of course, Mario Kart.
Well, right. I think the worst video game I ever played was E.T. for Atari.
Really?
Yeah.
How did they even make that into a game?
They didn't. It's just like a blob that you can move around the screen.
A pixelated ET that like...
And like you can pick up Reese's Pieces that are just like a smaller, different blob.
So it's kind of like Pac-Man?
No. It was like an open world bullshit candy game.
So you just ran into dots all day long?
I have no idea. To
this
day, I have no idea what the point of it was or how well I was doing.
We're gonna YouTube some...
It's brutal,
some
man.
ET gameplay for Atari.
Just because we teased this before, and it fucking blew my mind the other night when I was researching this shit in maybe not the most sober state. Go look up Laserdisc video games on YouTube, specifically a game called Cube Quest. Did you watch this shit?
Yeah. So if you follow us on Instagram, Spencer is slightly alluding to some of our podcast episodes by doing some broadcasting of his research while it's happening. And you were posting video of the gameplay that you were watching.
It's fucking crazy because they could overlay high quality graphics or, you know, whatever quality a Laserdisc was, but like much higher than vector graphics on an 80s console. Yeah. And then like overlay raster graphics on that.
Yeah.
And so you have these like the Cube Quest specifically has these crazy like painted backgrounds and then you're flying a spaceship through it and it's super psychedelic and looks unlike any other iteration of video game before or after. And it came out in 83 and it looks impossible. But we'll put a link to it in the show notes. That shit is crazy.
It looks very intentionally psychedelic.
Yeah.
Like it looks like remember the first time you saw Fantasia as an adult and you're like, oh, a bunch of really high people made this for high people. Like that's how that game feels.
And marketed it to kids.
And marketed it to children for some fucking reason.
And why not?
Yeah. This is like
Disney.
Yeah, right. But this is like the exact version of that. It looks like it was made for high people, by high people, and marketed to children.
You're flying a spaceship through a rotating ring of like screaming jaguar heads and snakes and stuff. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's a trip. It's a super trip.
Anyway, that's a thing that I needed to mention at some time during the podcast.
Well, absolutely. And I think the point of that too is that some have speculated that, you know, obviously there's a bunch of speculation about what Polybius gameplay would have been or would have felt like.
Oh, right. I don't think it was ever alleged to be Laserdisc involved, though. I just had no idea that Laserdisc video games ever happened.
Yeah. I didn't either, and I heard that they broke a lot, which is part of the reason they weren't that popular.
That makes a lot of sense.
But so should we go back to how this made its way onto the interwebs?
Yeah, let's.
So there's a really great documentary about Polybius on YouTube that I highly recommend by a guy who runs an account called Ahoy.
Nice.
And I highly recommend it. Just search on YouTube for the game that didn't exist. And he...
Sounds like you're refusing to say the name Polybius. Just search for the game that shall not be named.
Very Voldemort of them. He does an incredible job of investigating the backstory. Like,
I watched that one too. It's
yeah,
really well done.
yeah. He, I mean, like, is going all out for first person, like, knowledge and quotes, and is emailing and interviewing, and got a ton of like real audio of interviews, and super well done. But basically, the way that he susses it out is, even though 1981 was the supposed date of Polybius's release, the first mention we can find of Polybius on the internet is from February 6th, 2000, on a website called...
Not even close to 1981.
That's not even close to 1981, to your point. That is 20 years later. On a website called coinop.org, which is like... it's basically like a wiki site for...
It's video game Wikipedia.
Arcade games. Yeah. All kinds of like pictures of cabinets and documentation of gameplay and links to manufacturers and time periods and a bunch of scanned like fucking manuals for how to play things.
It's pretty thorough.
Pretty thorough. And this site is owned by a guy named Curt Koehler. Curt Koehler. And the write-up on it is actually pretty short. Should I just read it really quick?
Sure.
The write-up that showed up in 2000 had the screenshot that Spencer mentioned at the very beginning of this. And it reads like this. This game had a very limited release. 1 or 2 backwater arcades in a suburb of Portland. The history of this game was cloudy. There were all kinds of strange stories about how kids who played it got amnesia afterwards, couldn't remember their name or where they lived, etc. The bizarre rumors about this game are that it was supposedly developed by some kind of weird military tech offshoot group, used some kind of proprietary behavior modification algorithms developed for the CIA or something, and that kids who played it would wake up at night screaming, having terrible nightmares, etc. According to an operator who ran an arcade with one of the Polybius games, guys in black coats would come to collect records from the machines. Not interested in quarters or anything, they just collected information about how it was being played. The game was weird looking. Weird looking. Kind of abstract, fast action with puzzle elements. Kids who played it stopped playing games entirely. One of them became anti-video game crusader or something like that. We contacted one person who met him, and he claims the machines disappeared a month or so afterwards, and no one ever heard about him again until the ROM showed up. Here's what we found so far. We found English strings like insert coin and press 1 player start and only. Looks like 1 or 2 player game. And text in the game says, copyright 1981, Sinneslotion, so maybe a German company? If anyone's heard any additional information about this game, we'd appreciate hearing about it. Quick update. This is from, the update came in May 16th of 2009, so 9 years after the original. We want to go on record here saying Steve Roach is full of himself and knows nothing about this game. We have it on good authority. No, Polybius is not a Tempest prototype. No, Polybius is not a vector game. Does the title screen look vector? No, it does not. We recently received some new information about the game, and yes, one of us is flying to Kiev, Ukraine tomorrow, and yes, the trip is related to this information. Stay tuned.
Okay. Who is Steve Roach?
Steve Roach, so the Polybius article on coinop.org received a bunch of traffic of people rating the game, saying they remember it, they played it. A bunch of people saying this is a complete and total hoax. This company never existed. Everyone who's saying they played it is a liar. And I'm sure, like most comment sections anywhere on the internet, it evolved into utter madness.
A few people started talking about how their Sinbad played a genie.
Yep, exactly. So Stephen Roach is a guy who in 2006 basically claimed that he and amateur programmers in 1978 set up the company Sinneslotion, and in an effort to work on a printed circuit boards company, they were contracted by another South American company to work on like the implementation of those circuit boards in certain video game graphics, and it was a game that they had created, essentially, is what he ends up saying.
And what's the guy's name at CoinOp?
Curt Koehler.
Curt Koehler is saying that Stephen Roach is full of shit, and that's not what happened?
Yeah. Even though no one knows anything about the game.
Right. Meanwhile, neither of them has ever produced any evidence of anything.
Of either of those things being true.
Is it possible they are the same person?
That's an interesting idea. I don't know.
I'm just trying to think what the motivation would be for anybody to be making, because obviously some people are making stuff up one way or the other. Even if this story is true, then people who are contradicting it are making, whatever.
Yeah. If you're saying you're sure it's real because you played it and it is real, then you're right. But otherwise, you're lying.
Either way,
vice versa.
At least half of those people are making shit up.
Right.
Why? Why would you just for entertainment or because trolling has always been a part of the internet, or?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I think there's
traffic to your CoinOp website.
I think there's a distinct possibility that, well, if this is the first example of it on this website and was, as far as we can tell, created by this website and updated by this website.
With a fake page created date at the bottom also.
Well, not necessarily fake, though.
And unverifiable.
Unverifiable, but a bunch of the pages on the site shared the same page created date. So the suspicion is that when the site, the coinop.org website has moved from a bunch of subdomains and gotten new domains, etc.
As I'm sure any website that's been around for 20 years has.
Right.
Yeah.
And the suspicion is that for some of them, if they didn't have a date created or a page created date on them, it backfilled to some default date, potentially the oldest one, or maybe you only had one created in the database and they all filled in under that one. Because in the Ahoy documentary, they note that like the like a bunch of the page created dates are the same for like Donkey Kong and for like other important games.
Okay.
So it was
added at a later point?
Yeah, and filled in for like any of them that didn't have a page created date might have just gotten a backfilled page created date.
Which is still kind of weird, but whatever.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of weird. But the whole thing is obviously super sus.
Right. And ultimately what we're getting at is that there's no evidence of this game, this story, no mention of it that anyone has ever produced prior to 2000, correct? Or maybe 98 if you believe a guy who put that on his website.
Yes, correct.
So there's no, and granted, like lots of things were happening that weren't documented on the internet prior to 1998 or 2000.
Sure.
But I mean, no one's ever found any reference to it in print,
Well, there have been references to it in print, but just not before that date.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
There's no one has ever produced anything about this game in any way prior to 2000, correct?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, that coinop.org piece is the very first.
Which for me is enough to just say, like, this didn't happen.
Sure. I mean,
right?
Yes and no. I think that it is interesting that there are people who I think are probably not trolls who mentally are like, I lived in Portland at the time. I remember playing this game. It doesn't seem like malicious trolling for people who write reviews about Polybius.
Right. We also know that memory is not exact, especially 20 years later.
100%. And that's what I was going to say, especially related to some of the stuff you were talking about related to like Bubbles and the
so similar to other games of the era. Yeah.
Right. You know, it's I mean, you know, you were joking about it, but like the whole Shazam.
I mean, I wasn't really, but
I mean, you brought it up in a joking manner, but I mean,
I think the same thing could be at play.
I remember that movie. I saw that movie when I was a kid. No, I know it was, and it's, you know, we don't have any real evidence that exists, but there are people out there who 100% believe that it did.
Right.
The print stuff, the guy who did the Ahoy documentary was super diligent and did a bunch of searches of Google Books and magazine archives and all kinds of stuff.
Old Usenet forums and
Old
stuff.
Usenet forums. I mean, that motherfucker really went there to try to find this. Found no evidence of it until the CoinOp page submission came out.
Which was then picked up in a bunch of other places,
right,
including like
GamePro magazine was the big one. GamePro did an article in September of 2003 where Dan Amrich wrote an article called Secrets and Lies, which was about the top 6 myths in video gaming. And the 6th one that they listed was Polybius, and decided that Polybius was inconclusive as to whether the game had existed or not. Which GamePro, I mean, I don't know if you remember GamePro back in the day. I never got it, but like a bunch of my friends got it. It was
a big deal with people of our generation.
For sure. It was in the elementary school libraries, and kids would check them out.
Video game magazines. What a specific point in time.
Totally. But like they would publish like video game codes for specific games.
What was the other? Game Informer? Was that the other one?
Game Informer was the other one. Yeah, GamePro and Game Informer were the 2 big ones. But I think that was a big part of
that would have been
proliferating it, because I'm sure a bunch of people thought 2 things. 1, this is bullshit, and I'm going to go on the internet and yell about it being bullshit. Or 2,
that sounds familiar.
I kind of feel like I remember there being a game in the 80s in the arcades that was Yeah, no, I've played that.
I heard stories about people getting sick from playing games or getting headaches.
And
one time that the kid died because he was playing Contra for 6 days.
Right. So 50% of the world was like, this sounds like bullshit, and 50% was like, this sounds vaguely familiar, and I'll defend it.
And then if you go look for it, you know, GamePro obviously legitimizes it.
Right.
You go search on the internet, and now you can find stuff about it.
There's
enough there to keep it going.
For sure. You can find, I mean, go, you know, when you're in a safe place to Google something, go Google image search Polybius and look at all the screen grabs and black and white photographs of cabinets and color photographs of cabinets.
You can download this. You can download quote unquote the game and play it.
.exe Polybius games. Yeah. I mean, it was fucking referenced in The Simpsons.
I haven't tried that. I can't recommend actually downloading those. I don't know what those files might be.
We should not recommend anyone downloading anything .exe.
You can.
Yeah. It exists on the internet.
Possible.
But yeah, I mean, it was referenced in The Simpsons. Like this thing has taken on a complete and total life of its own.
I think maybe the most interesting angle on this story is like just how myths happen.
Yeah.
Because whether it happened or not, there's zero actual evidence of it. And yet it's become this huge lasting story that anyone who knows about video games has at least heard of it.
You know, it's funny, man. It's almost like you could take the sentence you just said and apply it to like the vast majority of the things we talk about.
Right, but this one is so cool because you can actually trace it back. We can
to its first
most
existence.
Likely find the origin of this myth.
True.
And it's a post on some website.
Yeah, because it came up in the era of the internet.
When all that stuff was documented. Yeah.
Right. It's fucking fascinating, man.
Mm-hmm. And I bet there also are games that have been lost. I bet there are real games that were made and played that there is no documentation of. There's
no question that happened. I mean, one of the things that I saw while reading this, which I should have known, but I was born in 87. Like I wasn't actually going into arcades until I was maybe, 10 or 12. So it would have been like close to late 90s, 2000 before I first got into arcades. And
Aladdin's Castle, bro.
Aladdin's Castle.
So much time and my parents' money in that place.
Street Fighter and Tekken and like all these cabinet arcade games were so fucking thorough and like bright and crazy.
All that shit is coming back now for a reason too.
Absolutely. But like back in the day in the 80s when some of those arcade games were first coming out, they were literally like ROM programs that were being inserted into or dumped onto computers inside of these cabinets, and then they were changing the marquee on the top of them, but the cabinet never changed. So a lot of them were like black on the sides. The marquee would be the thing that changed, and what you saw on the actual like screen would be the other thing that changed. In fact, some of them, if the game didn't have a corresponding button for additional buttons that were on the pad, they just didn't work. They just didn't do anything. So for some games, you had to be like, use the joystick and you press A and that's it. And for the next game they would load in there, maybe you used A, B, and C in the joystick, but they didn't like have arcade games that were necessarily that customized to the style of gameplay.
Except for the ones with the cool spinning ball thing.
Yeah, the golf games.
But there were earlier games that had that too.
Like bowling and shit like that?
No, like I think Tempest actually was one of them.
Oh, that's cool.
There were some like early 80s games that used that weren't Golden Tee or whatever.
Yeah. I guess the point I'm trying to make though is basically that like if the cabinets weren't as integrated into the games, they could basically test a marquee in a ROM dump, and if the game succeeded, they could turn them into way more blown out, customized, like beautiful cabinets that really like blew up the marketing value of the game.
Right. People actually like this game, it's going to stay.
Right, exactly. Or if they ran a game, like to your point, it's probably possible that a game, maybe not Polybius, but there were probably games that ran for a month or 2 months.
Right.
And made no fucking money in an arcade, and an arcade owner's going like, give me the next thing that's hot, because I've gotten 3 fucking quarters out of it in 8 weeks.
Right.
And I could be putting a different computer program and a different marquee on the same cabinet and making more money. So it's probably possible that not only were these arcades cycling out games pretty quickly, but like you said, some of them probably just fucking died. Like they just never got the traction that fucking Pac-Man got, and they got graveyarded.
If you have a cabinet that no one's playing and now the one kid who plays it is a devil worshiper, it's got to go, man. Got to get Polybius out of here.
Hey, I made $1 off this, and I got a demon.
And Brian summoned Satan.
So I got Satan in 4 quarters. Can we fucking not? Can we?
I
cut it
didn't
out?
re-up my demon insurance this month, so I'm kind of dicked here.
Gonna need a new ROM dump from you. Yeah, it's interesting, man. The other thing that I think makes it, we talked about like proliferations that make it more believable. Like we talked about, there was a version of Battleground or whatever it was where you could adjust a setting, and it was literally being used by the military for targeting practice.
I think they did it with Doom also.
So they also did it with Doom.
Yeah.
And people knew around this time especially that there were Easter eggs being worked into tons of video games.
Yeah. Air Dog.
Bill
Clinton.
Dog.
Yeah, you gotta find the secret stuff, man.
You gotta find the secret stuff. Like
Bill Clinton and NBA Jam.
Who else?
I don't. I'm trying to remember what all of them were.
I can't remember. You were saying
those are the only 2 that I can remember. NBA Jam, secret characters. That was real, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
So in the original NBA Jam, you could be Al Gore.
You could be Al Gore in the original NBA Jam?
It was 94, man. President and VP. You could
94. Wow.
You could be Warren Moon. You could be George Clinton. What the fuck? Air Dog.
Was George Clinton in like basketball shorts and a jersey, or was he in like full funkadelic?
We might need to go to Uptown tonight and figure this out.
Hey, shout out Uptown.
And then a bunch of people I don't know. I think it was like people who worked on the game.
Guys, Uptown is a video game bar in Minneapolis. For those of you who did not understand that,
that's a national thing now, my guy.
Uptown is international or national?
I've been to some in other states.
Oh,
I don't know how many, but yeah.
Oh,
I blew like $50 beating X-Men before a show in Iowa because it was next to an Uptown.
Yeah.
Our whole band, we got 6 people around X-Men, and we beat that shit before sound check.
Sometimes you gotta win a video game. Sometimes you gotta spend an inordinate amount of money to fucking beat
Sometimes you gotta
shit.
throw your whole per diem into an X-Men cabinet.
But now you got that story forever.
Worth it.
Totally worth it. All right, guys. We out of here. Send us an email. 99% of you are nice, so we will respond to 99% of you. Hi at whatifpodcast.com. We really do, though. We respond to like basically the vast majority of emails. So if you want to...
No, it's been everyone. I'm just going to stop responding to the rude ones.
To buttheads. Yeah. Don't be a butthead. We try not to be buttheads. We love you guys. No, y'all are the best. Hi at whatapodcast.com if you want to see the discussion around the Mile High Mystery conference in
There's no discussion. What are you talking about?
the
It's
Facebook
been
group.
decided.
It's
You want to come hang out with us in
Podcast.
Denver, May 4th through the 6th?
I suppose that's happening too. Send us an email if you are going to go. I mean, actually do. Like, we'd like to know.
Yeah, we'll hang out at a bar some night.
Yeah. Also,
I'll play some music or something.
for sure. Also, we got a few more Patreon supporters. Thank y'all.
We're not at 69 anymore.
Yeah, thanks. We all got a good
It's a
chuckle
bittersweet
out of
moment
when we were at 69.
when we got to 70.
I'm fairly certain, I can't remember who it was, but one of our listeners
One
was
of you
like,
ruined it.
lock it down. And I was like, yeah, we should have. But thank y'all seriously for supporting the show. You get an extra episode every week if you support us on the Patreon. It's only $5 a month, and you get 8 episodes of What If Pod a month instead of 4.
Hey, let's do this. We're about to record this week's.
Yeah.
Let's make it free this week if you want to check it out.
Ooh, should we?
Let's do it. I'm
Really?
whispering so that they can't hear us. This is just between you and me.
Oh, shit.
Let's do it.
One free Patreon episode.
Yeah.
We do a different format for the Patreon episode.
or
sometimes,
no
not always.
format, just like this show.
Yeah, so I guess there's that. All right.
Being generous.
Okay, so
I'm being nicer this episode.
If you listened to the 1 hour and 12-minute mark of this episode of What If Podcast, if you go to...
You shall be rewarded.
Yeah, you shall be rewarded. If you go to patreon.com/whatifpodcast, this once we'll just give you a free episode and you can check it out and you could see what we do. I think at this point we've got like 20 back
a bunch,
episodes.
yeah,
I don't know. It's a shitload of back episodes on the Patreon as well. And if you support at any time, you get all the weekly new ones getting forward, but you also get the 20 going back as well. True. Which is dope. We got a new What If shirt on shop.whatifpodcast.com.
Is it?
Heck.
It is not heck, but we have the What If one, and we've heard from you all. A bunch of people have been like, "Fuck yeah, I would buy a heck shirt." So
Hell yes.
I'll
Heck.
say I've started concepting some heck shirts.
It's 4 letters.
Well, right,
Or maybe like a period.
but
Don't put a question mark at the end. That's my input. Heck?
heck if the heck if podcast.
What heck?
All right. I think that's it. That's a shitload of fucking announcements. Doomtree.net/shredders if you want to vote for me. I love you guys.
We out of here.
Have a
We
good
outta
week.
here. We out of here. We out of here.
We'll see you next week. Peace.
We'll be back next week with another episode of the What If Podcast. Learn more at www.whatifpodcast.com.